দেখ আজকে আমরা ইলেকট্রিক ফিল্ড অ্যান্ড পোটেনশিয়াল পার্টটা স্টার্ট করব। তো লাস্ট ক্লাসে আমি ইলেকট্রোস্ট্যাটিক্সের যে বেসিক পোর্শনটা, ফান্ডামেন্টাল যে আইডিয়াটা অ্যাবাউট দ্য প্রপার্টিস, বেসিক প্রপার্টি, অপোজিট চার্জেস অ্যাট্রাক্টস অ্যান্ড সেম চার্জেস রিপেলস, এই পার্টটুকু ডিসকাস করেছিলাম। এরপরে তো মানে সেকেন্ড চ্যাপ্টার অ্যাজ ইফ তোর আমাদের সিলেবাস ওয়াইজ যেটা স্টার্ট হচ্ছে, দ্যাট ইজ ইলেকট্রিক ফিল্ড অ্যান্ড পোটেনশিয়াল। তো সেটা স্টার্ট হচ্ছে কুলম্বস ল দিয়ে। একটু বুঝে নে। So Coulomb's law actually says about the force acting between two point charges. Let Q1 is a charge and Q2 another charge. Okay, and they are just kept apart by a small distance smaller. Then, depending on the nature of the charge, that may be Q1 may be positive, Q2 may be negative, Q1 may be negative, Q2 may be positive, or both can be of same charges, either positive or negative. So depending on that situation, there will be a force acting between Q1 and Q2. Okay. Now, according to Coulomb's law, the law is saying that the force is proportional to the product of the charges and inversely proportional to the square of the distances between them. Okay, so force is proportional to the product of the charges. As charges will grow in terms of magnitude, the force will be increasing. If the distance will be reducing, the force will be increasing. Okay, so if I combine those, then there will be F proportional to Q1 Q2 by R square and F equal to some new constant Ke Q1 Q2 by R square. That Ke is known as Coulomb's constant. Now this Coulomb's constant actually depends on the medium. যে মিডিয়ামের মধ্যে Q1 and Q2 চার্জেসকে রাখা আছে তার উপরে কিন্তু ভ্যালু অফ Ke ডিপেন্ড করে। সো ওয়ান বাই ওয়ান যদি আমরা ডিসকাস করি, then in case of CGS system, value of K is 1 for air medium or for vacuum. Okay, and value of, so if Ke equal to 1, there will be a force. The force is Q1 Q2 by R square, simple force. Now if I go for another medium in CGS system, the value of Ke will be 1 by K, where K is known as dielectric constant of the medium. In case of CGS system, this dielectric constant is the fundamental property of the medium. Okay, যে মিডিয়ামের মধ্যে তুই চার্জটাকে প্লেস করছিস। So in CGS system, value of K is equal to 1 by K. In that situation, value of force becomes 1 by K Q1 Q2 by R square. So this is the another form of Coulomb's law in case of CGS system. So in case of CGS system, we have two different forms of Coulomb's law. Now if I go for SI system, now in case of SI system, at first value of Ke will be 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 for air medium. For air medium, where this epsilon 0 is known as permittivity of free space or the medium. Okay, permittivity of free space or the medium. So it's another special property of the medium. It varies actually. For air medium, it is epsilon 0. It is permittivity of the free space or medium. So in that case, your value of Coulomb's constant equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0. So if I use that expression, then F equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 Q1 Q2 by R square. This becomes one of the form of Coulomb's law in case of air medium and in SI system. Okay, now another one, that value of Ke will be 1 by 4 pi epsilon, where it is applicable, it is another epsilon is representing here permittivity of the medium. Permittivity of the medium, the medium which is not air actually here, then value of Ke equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon. So in that situation, value of the force becomes 1 by 4 pi epsilon Q1 Q2 by R square. So this is the another form of Coulomb's law. Okay, so basically we have four different forms of Coulomb's law. In case of CGS system, when the medium is air medium. In case of CGS system, when the medium is not air medium, then we have to constant the dielectric constant of the medium. About the dielectric constant, its different properties, regarding that we have to explain The topic will come in the later actually. Topic will come and we will explain about the dielectric constant and about the property of that. And in case of SI system, your Coulomb's constant value is 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 for air medium, and there is a special value of this epsilon 0. There is special value of this epsilon 0, and if I go for another medium which is not air in SI system, then it is replaced by 1 by 4 pi epsilon. Epsilon is the permittivity of that medium. So these are the 4 different forms of Coulomb's law. And basically one more thing is that this force, the force is a conservative force, and that means work done due to this force will be completely recoverable, and the force and the central force, it acts between the line joining of the charges. Okay. Now there is a special value for epsilon 0. There is a special value for epsilon 0. It is 8.85 into 10 to the power minus 12 in SI. 8.85 10 to the power minus 12 in SI. So if I compute that value, then F equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 Q1 Q2 by R square. In case of SI system, the equation is this. So if I put all the values there, then the result will be 9 into 10 to the power 9 Q1 Q2 by R square. That means this force equal to 9 into 10 to the power 9 Q1 Q2 by R square. We can also use that. That means this 9 10 to the power 9 is the result of 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 equal to 9 into 10 to the power 9. It's not that 1 by 9 into 10 to the power 9. Okay. So this is about the basic starting portion. After that we will move on gradually. Now so about epsilon 0, if I concentrate on that, now we have F equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 Q1 Q2 by R square. So epsilon 0 becomes 1 by 4 pi F Q1 Q2 by R square. Now about electric charge, about small q, if I concentrate electric charge, then according to SI system, we know that electric current I equal to Q by T. So from here Q becomes I into T. In the SI system, electric current is chosen to be the fundamental quantity. Okay, that means if I compute the dimension of electric charge, that will be dimension of electric current multiplied by dimension of time. Dimension of electric current is itself capital I, and dimension of time is T. So dimension for electric charge becomes IT. In some other books, they have used the dimension capital A to represent I. Okay, where A represents ampere. So you can also go for that. You can also go for capital A to represent the dimension of electric current, or you can simply represent it as by capital I. Both are correct. Now if I want to know about the unit of small q, then in CGS it is ESU charge. It is ESU charge, or you can write as stat coulomb, and in SI system it is simple coulomb. The relation between them is 1 coulomb equal to 3 into 10 to the power 9 ESU charge. Okay, 3 into 10 to the power 9 ESU charge or stat coulomb. Like this they are connected. 1 coulomb equal to 3 into 10 to the power 9 ESU charge. So this is about the unit of electric charge. Now where we were actually epsilon 0 equal to 1 by 4 pi F Q1 Q2 by R square. So if I want to compute unit of epsilon 0, if I want to continue unit of epsilon 0, then from here epsilon 0 equal to 1 by 4 pi F Q1 Q2 by R square. So it becomes 4 pi is a constant quantity, so for F there will be Newton, so it is ultimately two charges are there, so it will be in SI Coulomb square by, for force it is Newton, for distance it is meter square. So ultimately it becomes Coulomb square per Newton meter square, or Coulomb square Newton inverse meter minus 2. This is the unit of epsilon 0. So, and if I write the value of that, value of epsilon 0, so it is epsilon 0 equal to 8.85 into 10 to the power minus 12 Coulomb square by Newton meter square. So this is the value of epsilon 0, and if I put it in the expression F equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 q1 q2 by r square, then that becomes, after putting this value, if you compute, then it becomes like this: 4 into 3.14 equal 8.85 into 10 to the power minus 12 into q1 q2 by r square. So from there we are getting actually this result: 9 10 to the power 9 q1 q2 by r square. So this is the form of Coulomb's law we are getting from here. And now if I compute the dimension of epsilon 0, then dimension of epsilon 0 equal to, basically in the lower part you have only force, because 4 pi is a constant quantity, so dimension of force will come from there, dimension of electric charge divided by distance square. Okay, and we know that dimension of electric charge is it, so in the upper part you are getting it into it divided by, for force you are getting dimension is mlt minus 2, and for distance you are getting L square, so ultimately it is m inverse L to the power minus 3 I square and t to the power 4. So this is the dimension of epsilon 0. So you can get this question: compute the dimension of epsilon 0, or compute the value of epsilon 0, unit of epsilon 0. So the basic, very basic things about that you need to know to proceed with this chapter. Okay, now if I go for the another part, that is about the dielectric constant. If I go for the dielectric constant, then as I mentioned that dielectric constant K is the special property of the medium. It varies from one medium to the other medium, depends on the nature of the medium. And another name of dielectric constant is specific inductive capacity. Another name of dielectric constant, it can also be written like SIC, that is specific inductive capacity. Okay, dielectric constant also depends on the temperature of the medium. Okay, and another definition of dielectric constant for the time being which you can get, that is epsilon by epsilon 0. That means for any medium, suppose you want to define the value of dielectric constant, that means that permittivity of that medium divided by permittivity of vacuum. Permittivity of any medium divided by permittivity of vacuum represents the dielectric constant of that medium. So from here you are getting that and this can also be written like epsilon r, because it is relative permittivity. So relative permittivity and dielectric constant are kind of same thing. So from here your epsilon r equal to epsilon by epsilon 0. So epsilon equal to epsilon 0 into epsilon r. So suppose if I write the Coulomb's law for any medium, so if I write the value of Coulomb's law for any medium in SI I am writing the Coulomb's law for any medium which is not air medium. So then it will be 1 by 4 pi epsilon q1 q2 by r square and from here if I replace the value of epsilon from there, it is epsilon 0 into epsilon r into q1 q2 by r square. I can also use for that, where for any particular medium, if you don't know, suppose to solve any problem, the permittivity of that medium is not given, rather you know the value of epsilon 0 and suppose the relative permittivity value is given, then by using that also you can also calculate what is the force acting between the charges when the charges are placed in that medium. Okay, so it's the basic thing, you need to concentrate on that about the beginning of this chapter actually. Now there is a principle which is called superposition principle. It's a very basic idea. It's superposition principle. It's saying that suppose consider a system containing few different number of charges actually. So let it is q1, it is q2, it is q3, it is q4, it is q5, it is q6, q7, like this. Suppose n number of charges are present. Okay, now in that system actually, so if you want to calculate what is the total amount of force experienced by the charge q1, okay, then in that situation you can apply the superposition principle actually. So if I mention that F1 is the total force experienced by the charge q1, then there will be actually there is, suppose it will be the effect of the force acting due to q2 on q1, force acting due to q3 on q1, force acting due to q4 on q1, like this it is applicable for the rest of the charges present in the system. So basically if I denote that F12, if I denote that F12 is the thing, F12 is the thing which represents the force acting on q1 or force exerting on q1 due to q2. So basically it will be the sum of force acting on q1 due to q3, force acting on q1 due to q4, force acting on q1 due to q5, force acting on q1 due to q6, and force acting on q1 due to q7. So like this we can add at a time considering a pair of charges, and then we can add them to get the total amount of force which is acting on the charge q1. Okay, now this idea is the superposition principle idea. Now another one basic assumption is made in that situation. If you concentrate on the thing, and if you will find that one basic assumption is there, saying suppose at the time when you are considering the force acting on q1 due to q2, at that time it's not that the force due to q3 on q1 or due to q4 on q1, due to q5 on q1, they are stopped. It's not that. That means when q2 is exerting on force on q1, at that same time q3 is exerting force, q4 is exerting force, q5 is exerting force, rest of the charges all are exerting force on q1, but those forces are not taken into consideration actually, because at a time a pair of forces or a pair of charges are actually considered here. Okay, that means it doesn't indicate that in that situation when F12 is acting, it doesn't say, actually says that at that time your F13 is 0, F14 is 0, F15 is 0. So basically it's the thing the superposition principle is saying about this, and it is applicable for n number of charges, how many number of charges are present in that situation in the system. Okay, based on that we can calculate the total amount of force which will be experienced by a particular charge. Okay, now the situation can be different. The situation can be different because there may be some continuous distribution of charges, continuous distribution of charges. For not, these are the discrete distribution of charges. Now if I go for the continuous distribution of charges, like there is a particular rod. Okay, the rod AB is there, and let q amount of charge is given to the rod. then you cannot specify in that particular section how much amount of charge is present, or in this particular segment how much amount of charge is present. You cannot specify like that. So to control those situations actually, or to deal with those problems actually, so few parameters are defined. Here in this situation I will define lambda. Lambda is known as linear charge density. Which is saying that the charge, suppose q amount of charge is given, then amount of charge present per unit length, that is the value of lambda, that is linear charge density. Or if I consider that L is the length of the rod AB, then lambda is the Q by L, amount of charge present per unit length. Similarly, we can define sigma, which is known as surface charge density, which is saying amount of charge present per unit area. Okay, similarly we can define rho, which is saying about the volume charge density, then how much amount of charge is present per unit volume of the body. So these parameters are very essentials, like lambda, like sigma, like rho. These are the very important parameters to deal the situations about continuous distribution of charges. And we have to deal with some situations where we have to incorporate those variables in the problem, and we have to solve the problem to get the result. Okay, so these are the basic things about the electrostatics. After that, the topic which we will discuss, that is about the electric field. So next topic which I will discuss, that is electric field, and it's a very important idea. Electric field, try to understand properly that electric field, basically suppose there is a system and one point charge is placed there. Now if any other charges will be brought very close to it, suppose at the point P, which is inside the system. Here at the point P, let us consider one charge is placed, that is Q naught. Now when Q naught is present there, Q naught is brought very close to Q, then there will be some forces acting between Q and Q naught. And the situation is saying that electric field, basically when one isolated charge is placed, so depending on the capacity of that, one region is created. So this is the region. So within that region, if any other charges will be brought, then there will be some forces acting between the charges, that may be attractive force, that may be repulsive force. Now the region will be created, that is due to the capacity, due to the magnitude of charge of this small q. The region may be small, the region may be large, that depending on the value of small q, but one kind of region will be created, and within that region, if any second charge will be brought, then there will be some forces acting between them. But if the charge will be outside of that region, then those points, suppose there are a few points which are the outside of these regions, so all these points are treated to be the infinity. Infinity means where the effect of the small q is negligible. That means the force will be dominative only if the second charge or any other charge is brought within the field of the first charge. Okay, now suppose if we say that there is a field created due to the charge small q. Now this information is not sufficient enough to understand the field properly. We need some another parameters to understand about the detail of that field, about the property of that field, about the magnitude of that field, about the strength of that field. To understand those parameters properly, we need to define the first parameter, that is called intensity. It is called intensity of the field or field intensity. So it's saying that suppose there is a charge small q, and at a distance smaller from it there is a point P. Let us consider the point P is already within the field of this small q. Then at the point P, what is the field intensity? What is the field intensity? The idea is saying that to calculate the field intensity at the point P, you have to imagine that you are placing a test charge at that point. You are placing a test charge at that point. You have to think about that. And what is the information about the test charge? Test charge, first of all, it's a unit charge, and it's positive in sense. That means unit positive charge is considered to be the test charge. So at the point P, you want to calculate the field due to the charge small q, then you have to imagine that you are placing a test charge at that point. Now this is the positive charge because no signs are mentioned yet, so let us consider your small q is a positive charge, and this q naught which you are placing at the point small p, that is also a positive charge. Okay, then there will be a repulsive force acting between these two charges. What is the force acting? The force will be q naught by 4 pi epsilon 0 r square. So this is the amount of force which is acting between these two charges. Now this field intensity is saying the force experienced by the test charge divided by the charge is the value of field intensity at that point. It's a vector quantity. So force experienced by the charge divided by the charge divided by the magnitude of the charge is the electric field intensity. It's the definition of electric field intensity. So from there, so if it is the vector in sense, then this is the repulsive force, so definitely the force will be acting in this direction. Okay, so this is suppose r cap, this r cap is specifying this direction suppose. Then from here this becomes, it is a force by q naught, so ultimately it becomes q by 4 pi epsilon 0 r square into r cap. So this is the expression for electric field intensity due to a point charge. Electric field intensity due to a point charge. Simple idea, you are placing a point charge and at a distance small r at the point P, how much amount of field is there? So to calculate that, your q naught is placed. You have to see imaginary process. You are placing a q naught, then some forces is acting between them, then that force divided by the charge placed, that is the value of field intensity at that point. And due to point charge small q, the field which is created at the point smaller, at a distance smaller, it is E equal to this expression. Now from here it's very clear that E is proportional to 1 by r square. That means with the distance small r, basically the field is reducing. Okay, now from this definition part we can calculate what will be the dimension of electric field intensity. That is the dimension of force divided by dimension of charge, and force is, we know that it's mlt minus 2 and charge is representing I into t, so this ml I inverse t minus 3, that is the dimension of electric field intensity. And from here, if I want to calculate the unit of electric field intensity, is the dimension part. Unit of electric field intensity will be E equal to F by Q naught. So obviously in SI system it is Newton per coulomb. It's Newton per coulomb. Okay, or in CGS system is not used properly, so it's dyne per ESU charge. It's the value of, is the unit of electric field intensity. Okay, so this expression is very important, which we will be using in the different cases we will be using to solve the numerical problems, that the expression for electric field intensity due to a point charge. Okay, always remember this when you are placing this q naught is a unit positive charge. Okay, q naught is a unit positive charge. Now another topic which is based on this idea, that is electric field lines. First of all, this definition, the idea is saying that these electric field lines, first of all, they all are imaginary lines. Like when you are placing a trace charge or a point charge, from there some field lines are coming out. It's a situation, some field lines are coming out, but they are the imaginary lines. Okay, now what's the advantage of that? So if I consider this AB is the field line, then on this particular field line there are several number of points available. So on the field line at a particular point, let the point is A, on the field line at a particular point A, if I want to get what is the direction of electric field, so there will be just a tangent drawn. So that the advantage is that on the electric field line, if I want to get what is the direction of electric field, then just you need to draw the tangent at that point, then you will get the direction of that electric field. That's the advantage of that. And definition wise, it's the imaginary line along which a unit positive charge tends to move. That is the unit positive charge tends to move. That's the idea about the electric field line. Okay, and from positive charge, basically in the book you will find that there are different field lines are there. Like from the positive charges, field lines are basically created. Like from the, if there is a positive charge in sense, from there electric field lines are just coming out. Okay, so this is the idea. From positive charges electric field lines are coming out. From the negative charges, basically electric field lines are directed towards the negative charge. Always field lines are directed towards the negative charge. Okay, this is the concept of electric field lines. Or you can also think about that, if there is a positive charge and if there is a negative charge, they are kept apart by a distance, then always the field lines will be starting from the positive charge and they will be ending at the negative charges. Some drawings are there about the properties of these electric field lines, and all the drawings are very important. All the drawings you need to follow. Okay, that means the electric field lines will be originating from the positive charge and they will end at the negative charge. Okay, if you place a positive charge and another positive charge facing each other, then definitely between that there will be a repulsive force acting, so there will be no electric field lines present between the charges and all the field lines will be repulsive in sense. All the field lines will be repulsive in sense. So like this you can draw the diagram to show the situation actually. Okay, no field lines will be completing. So this is the field lines due to isolated positive charge. This is the field lines due to isolated negative charge. When positive charge and negative charge they are just kept apart by a small distance, then in that situation this will be the situation like electric field lines and both the positive charges are placed at a certain distance apart or negative charges are placed. In that situation this will be the electric field lines. Now all these electric field lines, as I have mentioned already, that they are the imaginary lines and they just indicate about the presence of electric field, nothing else. Okay, and the advantage is that on the electric field line, like on the electric field line AB, on the electric field line at any particular point, if I want to get what is the direction of electric field, then just you need to draw the tangent. After that, the rest of the part, that means the properties of electric field lines, the very important topic, and in the book you will find more or less 10 or 11 points regarding the electric field lines, and these properties are very important. You will go through those points. What I have already mentioned, those points are available there. These are the imaginary lines. All the field lines are basically originating from the positive charge. Okay, and on the electric field line at any particular point, if I draw the tangent, and so I will get the direction of electric field. And one more property is that the two different electric field lines cannot intersect each other, because suppose, so by the method of contradiction we can also prove that, suppose if there is a particular field line and this is another field line, the property is saying that the two different field lines cannot intersect. So if I assume to prove that, if I assume that suppose they are intersecting and the intersection point is suppose P, so let's make it AB and it is suppose CD. So this particular point P is on the line AB, so there will be a direction of electric field, and simultaneously since the particular point P is also on the electric field line CD, so follow that there will be another electric field direction. So at a particular point, at any instant, two different field directions are practically absurd in sense. That's why this situation will never happen. So from this idea we can conclude that the two different electric field lines cannot intersect each other. Okay. Now electric field lines, another property is saying that electric field lines will never pass through a conductor. Okay, that indicates that electric field inside a conductor is always zero. And suppose another property is saying that in a particular region, if you find that electric field lines are very close to each other, that indicates that in that region actually electric field is very strong. Okay, and if they are quite apart from each other, which indicates that the electric field is much weak in that region. Okay, now suppose this charge plus q and minus q, they are suppose magnitude wise they are suppose same. So if magnitude wise they are same, then number of field lines originating from the positive charge, same number of field lines will end at the negative charge. So there will be some situations, some other properties relevant to this topic which will be discussed later, and you can also find in detail if you are interested enough about the properties of electric field lines. If you are interested enough, then you can also find in detail if you see the book properly, or if you follow SL Arora properly, then you also find about the detail of this electric field lines properly. So usually the question which comes in the exam, what do you mean by electric field lines? Some drawings suppose regarding the electric field lines and the properties of electric field lines. These are the basic things. Up to this I am just explaining. In the next class I will start from the electric dipole. Okay, up to this prepare properly, and if possible after going through this lecture you will learn the same thing from your textbook if it is available in this situation right now to you, then kindly go through from those and try to solve some numerical problems from the exercise based on the Coulomb's law based on the idea. Try to solve some numerical problems. In the next class we will discuss about the electric dipole.